mute myself. And then, wait, is it recording already?
You have to press share.
Oh, but screen share. Oh, it is recording. I think. Because it says pause recording. Okay, so it's recording. Oh, okay. So you're moving beyond just the silhouette shapes now, starting to sketch this out. By the way, you're doing it right. So like in my demo, I jumped into doing the spaceship almost too quickly, right? In the original assignments, it was like focus on the landscape first and then figure out the architectural elements later and how to integrate them. Just indicated in there for the beginning, and then I just kind of got caught up in it, and I designed my spaceship a bit further than I normally would. But in this instance, you're starting to get there where now that you have your landscape down, now you're coming in and you're designing elements of the architecture. Is there anything here that you want help with, first of all?
Not sure yet. I just like your thoughts.
Okay. Okay, instead of drawing it through the Zoom app, I'm going to draw it through that way the annotations will. Okay. Wait, is it drawing? Drawing. I want to draw. And brush size? How do I know my brush size? Trying to get used to this. Okay, so some things I think you're going to need to research is the architecture going to be like an Old West kind of town? Okay, so things that you need to research are like, say, for example, this billboard right here. How exactly, why is this not a pen? I'm just going to download this. We'll do it live. Drag it right into Photoshop. Did it do anything? Ah, wow, what a delay. Okay. So as I was saying, like you're gonna have to like research billboards, for example, how they're held up. Oftentimes with the billboard, there's actual structure behind it. And then there's like this area for somebody to walk, possibly. And then if you want people, oh, you put giant lights here. I don't think you need searchlights that big. Usually it's like smaller lights on a billboard that kind of point up at it, like that. And then let me get rid of touch controls. The other thing too is you could see it's kind of a flimsy structure. If the wind were to blow from the front or the back, it would actually blow over. So a lot of times with billboards, they also have little support structures here. And the key in architecture is triangles, because that prevents things from swaying back and forth, right? Like, say, for example, if you had a square structure like this, well, if wind were to blow, then this structure could topple over very easily like that, right? If wind were to push it that way. But if we had like a triangle kind of, here, that this piece will prevent it from shifting side to side. And sometimes, a step beyond that would be an X as well, which is basically what, 4 triangles, right? So this is why you'll see a lot of this stuff in support structures for a lot of architecture. And so then you want to evenly distribute these, and then you'll have elements behind it that kind of mimic. Is it is this should be kind of a review, right? Like this kind of architectural stuff. Okay, good. So yeah. Um, on your on it's kind of like a vertically built shanty kind of situation. A lot of times, they wouldn't just be the building. It's almost like they're building the building is built into the side of a hill or something within the landscape. And so they're kind of half relying on the structure of the building itself and half relying on the rocks and stuff that are kind of sloping or sticking out, right? So you may want to also consider, in some instances, the rock is kind of on a hill. So the ones on the bottom here could actually stick forward a bit more, right? Because if I was to do a side view, let me just put this off to the side here. If I was going to draw a side view, this would be kind of a more natural terrain, right? And then your building, whatever this rooftop is with the little steeple, it'll just kind of jump forward as it gets lower here, right? Does that make sense? And then what that'll allow you is to be able to let the people in there traverse in a way other than the ladder. Ladders are just dangerous, and also if this was a video game, they would tell you take out the ladders because people hate going up ladders in video games. Stairs are like way more natural. So in that case, if it's on the side of a rock hill or something like that, that allows you, to actually put in like some stairs off on the side here where you can have some steps and things like that. Now, I also can tell like you kind of want it to feel precarious, but one of the elements that really help with human scale in architecture like this is railing. And so I would definitely consider putting some railing down, like over here and such, just so that we have a human scale element. And also it makes the silhouette a little bit more interesting, right? Like now you have tiny things instead of like just these masses that are like that. And also make sure that whatever platforms you have also are supported by triangles. So say, for example, underneath there, from floor to floor, you're definitely going to want to build out some kind of a triangular structure like this to help hold it up, right? Something like that. Okay. And you know, look up old Western towns and ghost towns and things like that. There's one in California called Calico. Calico is a good town to look at for a lot of this Old West type architecture. I have a question. What is this thing over here? Okay. And is the tarp like on the roof hanging down, or like where's the tarp hanging from? Okay. So the way it's kind of arranged right now is it looks like it's a curtain, and that's because a curtain is kind of held up through pipe folds. So you know, what a pipe fold is it's like this, right? It's like a series of pipes, you know, that are hanging. And that's kind of hanging in a way that is by design, right? Because a curtain has what? All these little ringlets that kind of evenly hold it up like that, kind of like a shower curtain, right? But if you want it to feel more like a tarp, like they just put this on there and then stack some stones up there to keep it from blowing away. A lot of times tarps will hang kind of in this instance, it would hang kind of like this, where this part on the corner would start blowing away, and then it'll hang by what's called a diaper fold. And what a diaper fold is there's 2 points of support up here, and it makes sort of an M shape. You see that? You know, so imagine if you took like a blanket and you just, or a towel, and you just grab like 2 ends of it, and it makes this M shape. So usually a tarp will, you know, have like a point here and a point here, and it'll kind of blow in the wind like that. And this might be the corner that's blowing up or something like that. Okay. And then what they'll do is they'll take cinder blocks or whatever, and they'll put them up here to just weigh it down to prevent it from blowing away. Okay. I would probably get rid of these searchlights that are pointing at because they're just too big, like I had mentioned. If anything, they would be pointing down onto the town for security, like, you know. And also I would research searchlights. So usually searchlights are on a hinge of some sort. So it's like a cylinder, and there's 2 points here that allows the up and down swivel, right? Like this. And then it's attached to something over here on the sides of it. Oh, come on. And the bottom here has to have enough space for this thing to move up and down. And then there might be like a handle or something. And then this whole thing would probably be on a swivel as well. So then it can rotate, you know, in a circle, and then it's also hinged to move up and down. A lot of turret guns are also mounted this way as well. So I don't know, you can take a look, you know. So, and then this would be probably nailed or riveted down onto whatever surface it was on, right? But yeah, do research and look for things like, how does that move? How does, you know, like, how are these things attached to each other as well? You know, because it may very well be that you know, when these things are attached, there might be like a flat piece right here for all these corners to just kind of hang, you know, to help help it from coming undone, right? So look for the attachment parts of it. What's going to be on the billboard? What's the ad?
This was like a kind of end of days call moment. So
Okay.
it's like you repented.
Oh, okay, you're getting religious. Okay. Oh, well, cool. Dang it. A oh, this is why. I want classic gradient. Why give me the new stuff when I want the classic? Book of Eli is a good movie to watch for that. That kind of theme. Also an end of days kind of situation. One thing that'll help with that they did in Book of Eli that was kind of interesting was even though the town looks very Western and all this stuff is kind of built from scraps and things like that, right? There may be remnants of modern day life that's stuck in these ruins, right? So for example, currently your left-hand side is like natural terrain stuff, but your right-hand side right now, I don't know, it can I think your right-hand side doesn't necessarily need to be another rock. It could actually be something behind this building that reminds us of this the world as we know it now that's been collapsed and destroyed for the people living in this world, right? So one thing that they did a lot in Book of Eli was they would have like a freeway overpass, but like it was broken, so that would be one very generic cliche example that I just came up with. Okay. But the reason why I was kind of cautioning you against this large rock on the right hand side here is it's kind of hurting the silhouette of your building with the billboard on there. Like this building and this billboard would read a lot better if it was kind of more open a little bit, at least the top of it. And then so that would mean that what you would just kind of scoot whatever this mountainous thing is to about like here or something instead, right? And then you could just leave the left-hand side of it a little bit more open. Just take a look what that would look like. So then with that, now your silhouette of this thing is going to stand out a lot better. Oh man, why is it giving me? That's so weird. I have it set on giving me a lighter value. That's so weird. It's like it's choosing, the background color. Anyways, but yeah, now that silhouette of that billboard is going to read a lot better coming off of that. So over here on the mountain, that's where you can actually have your, maybe it's a building that's collapsed, and you could still see like, Last of Us was really good with that kind of stuff where stuff peeking out of that mountain, right? But yeah, I would open it up a little bit more. Because the other thing too was it was kind of taking up equal mass as the left hand side. You get what I mean? Yeah, so get it a little balanced. Okay, cool. I am going to I'm going to save this onto my flash drive and then. Oh, I didn't put in my flash drive. That, all that info helpful? Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Visual map painting, week 5. Just gonna write notes. Yes. And hopefully that's helpful for everybody else that has anything that even slightly resembles this kind of world, right? Also really think about how the water runs off the buildings, because that was a big thing on a lot of old West buildings of how the water runs off of it when it rains. All right. Next. I wish I could go faster, but Richie. Yeah, so Richie was like, I thought we were done with this. So like for today's assignment, Rich, like you can model this structure.
Yeah.
Right. You'll probably need to do it in ZBrush or Maya or something. I could model that in SketchUp, but man, it would be painful because it's kind of organic and you've got these curves and things like that. That would be very difficult, very challenging. Cool. Is there anything here that you think you might want help with?
I had a lot of like trouble with like the tubes going into perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like kind of the scale of it or like the perspective. Maybe it seems a little wrong.
Okay. Yeah, like over here, I can kind of tell like this thing's not curving anymore.
Yeah.
It's just kind of bending, and it's probably, is it based off of some kind of a photo ref that you had, or is it a brush that you
It was
made?
a brush.
Okay.
It's a brush that has like gaps in between.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
got,
that's
like,
why.
links. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're doing. And it's also got scale to it, or scale with pressure?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that is a little something that I notice here is like it's kind of too even if it's going off away from us in this space. The other thing too is this part here seems like it's coming towards us, but all the let me show you. This part down here, if okay, if this thing was on the side of that hill, right? These lines should be either flat to us or going the opposite way, like
Yeah, it should be curving in that.
yeah. So the direction in which you're drawing your brush can help. One thing I would also mention is you've got this amazing turquoise light that's coming off of this object over here, but I'm not really seeing any of it reflected in any of this, midground and foreground objects. And it'd be good if you had like some kind of a rim light, a little bit of a backlight with some of those colors in there. And that way it kind of grounds us, including, even like see how the boot here kind of melts into the landscape right here. And like having a little bit of that lighting on this character would also help. Let's see here. It's really pretty. These is this rock or is this sand?
It's kind of like crystal. There's
Okay.
like shiny crystal inside.
Okay. Okay, so when I see it curve like that, even though that's very pretty, it feels like it's either liquid or grains of sand that are, being impacted by this thing coming down.
It was meant to be more of like a rock formation,
Okay,
but like more like I guess fantasy or sci-fi looking.
okay. Um, the only problem I have with that is it's okay, it's ambiguous is what I'm getting at. Whereas because it's almost like too perfectly framing this thing in a way where it almost feels like this would be affecting that in some way, but you're saying it's actually something that's not affected by it. So if you're going to sell that point, you might actually need an example of this at another spot on the right hand side, or something like that, or something very small off in the distance. um but if it was crystal that was being impacted, it would react more like these rock pieces where it slams down and it breaks.
Yeah.
It cracks and breaks in that formation. Yeah, the yeah, one thing to think about as far as this kind of rock formation is you got to think about what made it form that way. Was it erosion? Was it wind? Is it just how the crystal grows? That kind of thing. Um, and if you do change your mind later and decide it's a result of this impact, um, okay, so one thing we did do back in the day, let me just draw in Photoshop real quick. So back in the day when I worked on like a World War II game, and it's called Medal of Honor, and we would have like a city and stuff or a little town, and there'd be all these streets and different sized buildings, etc. And when we're like, oh well, it's a war-torn area, we got to have craters and things like that. And what was happening was a lot of the game designers, they were just arbitrarily putting craters in wherever they want. And what we were looking at was like, well, okay, let's take a view like a top-down view on the map, and then figure out exactly like, okay, so if this is like a town square with a fountain right here, and these are buildings coming in from the top, and they were bombing the heck out of the city, what would the formation of the trail of impact craters be in that situation? So say for example, if this was our city from a top-down view, what we did was we just started drawing these something like that, and would for some reason this thing is there we go. That was weird. It was doing the background thing. All right, so we would grab something like that, and then we would just figure out, like, okay, the bombing run goes in a direction like maybe across the city that way or something like that, right? So then we would have like a series of these that would it would just kind of follow the direction is what I'm getting at. And that helped us determine like, okay, so now we know when we design the building here, right? That this building's going to be like destroyed like that, right? And then that's going to reveal all these ruins and floors. Same thing here. So, so, so then you can kind of see, you know, the crater and what's affecting around it. And then from a macro view, you can tell like, oh, the bombs went boom, 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 all the way across in that direction. And if there was another plane, then we would have another one with a gap in between these two, that kind of thing. So we thought about stuff like that when we think about terrain and things like that too. It's kind of like if there's volcanoes, if there's an earthquake, a fault line, you know, what's getting pushed up and what is getting eroded away as well. So I don't know, hope that kind of helps. You're probably thinking about all this as well, but
No, that
just
was
wanted
definitely
it.
a good reminder.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be kind of obvious, like, but overall, uh, really nicely rendered painting. On your reflections, just make sure that your your reflections actually are reflecting. The only notes I have for you are going to be nitpick notes. This downloads, yeah, save.
In terms of like composition, is it working?
Yes.
Okay.
But so now I'm just nitpicking details like all day.
I do that.
So I just wanted to make sure that your reflections are reflecting, which means like right here, where this area, like what is that reflecting that's anywhere here, right?
I just wasn't sure like how far it could reflect
Well,
the
okay,
objects in the
so
background. Like I don't know how like what would be reflected
yeah,
and what's not.
so what would normally happen, first of all, the reflections would be straight, like up and down
Mhm.
kind of thing, right? So one trick we used to do is we would just grab this right here, not the person because this person's in the foreground, right? But you could just grab that and hit Control J. Wait, come on, Control J, like that. And then you just do like a vertical blur on it.
Mhm.
And just do a motion blur, not side to side, but more up and down. And make sure it kind of goes 90. Oh, didn't do enough. Wanted to do more. Blur, motion blur. All right, so just up it. And that's where you start getting some of your vertical streaks
Mhm.
going on. And so then when you flip it upside down, transform, flip vertical.
And I could use like a clipping mask on the
Exactly,
bottom, right?
exactly.
Okay.
So then you'll kind of get an idea as to like what it would actually reflect.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, like now I'm just reacting, right? But if you actually wanted it to be bright right there, all you got to do is make sure that there's something over here that's also blurry and you know, that's also bright if I were to paint it in blurry, right? So soft round pressure. So you just need some kind of a bright element here of some sort that kind of justifies that reflection. And just find a point here that would do that. Doesn't, you know, like I can come back and erase out like, oh, maybe I just want it down here and up there or something, right? But then you can actually understand like this is reflecting something here, right? This is gonna be our jobs in the future. We're gonna look at an AI image and go like, what corrections, what little subtleties can we pick out and go like, oh, the fingers, you know.
That's our job, just correcting AI.
But anyways, really good piece, but
Thanks.
overall though, like, but yeah, I mean, for sure, I would just do a shape pass going in with all these,
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do more of like the turquoise reflections
Mhm.
in the foreground.
yeah, like a lot of times I'll just come in with my holding down shift, right? And just coming in with my lasso tool and just going nuts with my zigzaggy things here. And then I'll just do a gradient of whatever that color is. Like that. And if you were painting this like kind of more cartoony, I'd just kind of leave it kind of like that, all smooth, but then you can if you want it to feel photo real, just set it on overlay, or you could do a color dodge if you wanted to as well. And then I would just adjust it from there. But just having a little tint like that.
Yeah.
That's also something to keep in mind for everybody else too. If you've got a blue sky, guess what's gonna happen on the top planes of all of your characters and your buildings and even the terrain? There's gonna be a slight blue tint to everything because it's kind of like having a giant blue light above us, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Anyways. I don't think you need this file, but
Yeah, I think I'm good.
you're good. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. When? Oh, okay. Is it this one or that one? Yeah. Okay. Can you talk about this? Oh yeah, this is that rainbow Dr. Seussian looking rock formation landscape, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like concrete things that kind of place over it.
Oh, this part right here?
Yeah.
Is that like some form of architecture or is that like,
Yeah, so I was gonna agree with that.
okay, and I assume this is a lunar eclipse? Okay. I'd actually be curious to see what the sky, how the sky and all the lighting would be affected, you know, during a situation like this. Like, would we have a blue sky during a lunar eclipse? I don't know.
It'd be like a sun, but it was like
Oh.
inspired by the stuff, but yeah, it was thinking about I'm not sure.
Oh, so it,
Like I do have to figure out the lighting next time.
yes. I think that's like part of the challenge right now is just you've got no lighting right here. And so all I'm perceiving right now are a series of like flat cardboard cutout shapes, right? The other thing that's really gonna help you, I think, is let me download that image, save as. Just like this helps me when I draw. So I would actually come in and very lightly on a drawing pass, just really figuring out like, because the problem is, we're so used to linear perspective. But you're doing a little bit of it, but some of these texture swirls are going the wrong direction. Like, for example, this one right here on the right. So what I would do is, oh, come on. Oh, okay. What I would do is just a series of breakdown, kind of, if I was going to put I don't know, like a grid on this, even though it's very organic in nature, like what would, and that can help you with like, when I put the textures down, how, how do I make the textures wrap around the form? And it's these parts right here where it convinces me whether or not if it's a flat shape or something that's compressing and wrapping around the form. You get what I mean by compressing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically, like, it needs to be almost like that, and it needs to have this very, steep ellipse to it right there. And so I would just go into your image and do that all the way across the board. Like, for example, this texture right here is not doing you any favors right now. Right? So I would come in here and just figure out, like, if this was wrapped around there, what would that feel like? And also if there's a path too. So what you can do is create some form of like a zigzag, I guess. So this would be flat, relatively flat, I guess. But I would want to see the textures and the rocks kind of do this. Right. Especially right here. Not 100% sure what's happening here, but and also this part here is very confusing too. Like, is it like this and then it goes up, or you know what I mean? Like, we're starting off with a cool abstract shape and it's like, okay, that's the direction we want to head towards, but let's give it some thickness now and figure out what the form language is there. Okay. This part's easy, this part's good. That one feels fine. So what's the thought behind, this particular camera angle? Is it kind of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark thing where at this point, this time of day, at this month, at this lunar cycle, this is the perfect spot to be in for some secret reveal? Or is this when the gates open? I don't know. Okay. I okay. Just as a just on a opinion, it's very obvious right now, and it's also treated with it's like heavy-handed. So you may want to kind of give this a little bit of room to breathe, is my point.
Okay.
Like, not make it super obvious, like, because right now this is dead center of this, right? But just giving it some room to breathe and giving it some offset maybe good. And then figuring out maybe this thing goes more up than around it, unless if it's an arc or something like that, like there used to be a bridge here or something. I don't know. And then you're going to put in some sci-fi structural elements too, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You may consider, since you have all these vertical cliffs, that maybe it's embedded almost like on the side here,
Yeah.
like that instead, and there's like ridges and stuff hanging in between, or depending on how sci-fi you want to get it. Okay. Right now your foliage shapes are a little bit too like just kind of all over the place, like um meaning like it'd be best if you determine like a shape first, and then get the branches to kind of fall along the lines of that shape. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
And also make sure that what makes a tree kind of feel like a tree or a bush look like a bush is as it gets lower, it gets thicker. You see? And it'll just get thinner and thinner as it goes up. But if you start drawing a tree like this, it kind of, I don't know, it starts looking a little off to me. And what would be good is if they had some kind of a dramatic shape, like this or something, right? And so then these branches would kind of fall along the lines of this, and then get rid of that part right there. You see? Yeah, I would probably do something with the tips of these nub finger branch things, and I don't know, maybe figure out something like a mushroom shape or something, a little bit more. And also what you can do is start forming a motif. And that is like a lot of times our architecture kind of reflects things that, that's the natural environment around us. There's a lot of architecture that tries to do that so that it looks like it's built into the landscape and such. So whatever shape you come up with your architecture, maybe it's reflecting the same shape language as the plants. That's my point. Okay. Yeah, try to think about if the inhabitants here are living in harmony with the nature that's around it, or if they're just trying to like fight against it. If they're fighting against it, they would actually like, drill out or blow up the side of a mountain so that they can get like flat terrain somewhere and almost just feel like it was carved out, kind of like a tunnel, or, like when you're driving up in the mountains, sometimes they just drilled a hole right through the mountain, yeah, something like that. Does this help?
Yeah.
Glenn?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Think about maybe something in the sky other than just blue sky. Like it could be clouds, it could be smoke, it could be birds or some kind of creatures and things like that. And also I think the next steps too is to design the architecture in a way. What I would recommend is find a metaphor of some sort. You know what I mean by that? Okay, so like, sometimes it'll reflect in whatever the story is you want to talk about, like I don't know what the story is in particular here, but you could find a metaphor like crustaceans or something like that. Because a lot of the shapes I'm seeing here kind of feel crustaceous to me, like lobster or crab or something like that. Even this shape over here feels like a crab claw or something. You get what I mean by that? Right. So then look at like, crabs and their shells and things like that, and maybe like that'll inspire you to create a motif for your world, right? Where maybe maybe the houses look like they're made out of, you know, crab shells, and maybe they're segmented like a lobster's tail, things like that. And the key there is not to get too heavy-handed with it. Like I wouldn't want to see an actual lobster's tail as a house, but it would be cool to see some segmentation on a house or something like that, you know. Just as long as it kind of, you know, follows a certain motif. And maybe it's the pink color too that's really making me think of seafood right now. Here, I'll save this out. Sam? Whoa. Sam, can you talk about what this is?
Really wanted to make, usually think like three,
Uh-huh.
also combine the.
Where's the nature aspect, like the water?
Lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have this thing on top of like this that's like, I don't want to say it, method kind of system, and then
Mhm.
below would be like a little stingy, like, what's the other one? I'm like struggling with words. Like a lake or like,
Yeah,
rocks.
the
I was
water.
playing around with it.
Okay.
Not really much different from like my last design. I just added like for reference.
Sure.
Future systems to really sell that. Right?
Mm.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. There's definitely a few things like I could see that can help improve this. Let me on download, save. Oh, come on. I think you also need, it's kind of the aspect ratio is kind of like old TV aspect ratio. I think extending it out a little bit more could help. Is this thing up there like a little spaceship? What is that?
Yeah. Here's the graph.
Okay. Did you design that?
No, I did around generated.
Oh, oh, and they just made that for you?
Yeah.
That's right, because now Photoshop's got their own AI aspects to things. How did you do that? Like, could I do it here? Yeah. Oh, it's
It's the
like
annoying tab.
the stuff that I always ignore.
And then you can just type something.
Oh, lake and grassy field. Oh my goodness.
But again, it will look pretty big.
It will look jank, and our jobs are to unjank the jank going forward. Okay. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not inspiring me, but it's not terrible, I guess. But you could see like just me giving some space to the right-hand side of the composition immediately like helps like, I don't know, give it a little bit more landscapey quality to it. Yeah, it kind of balances it a bit. I'll tell you the thing that's bugging me the heck out of this composition though. Can you guess? Yes. It's a giant vertical element that's like splitting my image in two, and I kind of wish it wasn't there, quite frankly. So I here. Oh, it's also kind of ruining your read of your city, just so you know. You know what I mean? Because this pillar is kind of covering up like this transition between the spidery pillar legs that you've got that, you know. I'll see if I can help. I can't solve everything. No, it's not too doomed. How should I say it? Oh, see, I don't, okay. Don't take this as anything in terms of what I'm seeing here. Okay. But I really have like built a career out of polishing turds and such. Meaning whenever an idea is first presented, it's not going to be perfect. Yeah, and artists, it's kind of our jobs to like go, how do we make that?
All I'm gonna say is like, I'm so far unlucky with this already.
It opened it up, didn't it?
No, for sure it did.
How do you think that's very open, dude?
But yeah, I'm not calling your image a turd. Let's just make that clear.
You can use the generative fill again right there.
You don't need that. You just grab a piece over here yourself and you just use it. Like you don't. Yeah, okay. Well. Okay, so what did that do? That kind of defined the shape and the edge of your city, and then how that relates to these, right? Because when it was kind of cutting it off, you kind of had to use your imagination as to what was behind the pillar. So that was one thing. Another thing too is this, what is, okay, so this is like a bridge almost, right? And so, well, it's on the wrong, it's supposed to be up here where it starts, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's some perspective issues for sure that we can fix as well. Meaning, you see how like parallel all these things are, even though that thing's supposed to be coming towards us, I assume.
Yeah.
So what would actually happen in that instance? It would get much wider up here, right? By the way, this is kind of how I paint. Like, actually, like if I was going to go back on my matte painting image, which I will later, I would use a lot more just shape and gradients going forward. Whoa, what was that?
I'm guessing because that helps a lot better with like the values.
It does. It's just like a shape, and also, okay, your brush is a hot dog. That's a hot dog, right? Your brush strokes are like with like round ends to it, right? and it feels digital and artificial and it doesn't even feel like natural media, right? Because even with an actual brush on a canvas or on paper, you get like sharp, happy accident shapes that happen, right? Like, what did the teacher just say? But it is, right? And like now you can't now that you see it, you can't unsee it, right? But the cool part about using that lasso tool is you can create a lot of let's just say if I was going to make a little oh, landscape thing there, you can get a mountain done real fast. And you could immediately see, like, I'm not making hot dog brush shapes, right? I'm making like nice, stylized sharp edges and you can do stuff like this where I'm just making random, I don't know, it's like I'm having a seizure or something. Like gestures that they're like this, right? And I just make sure it's on the left side that like that's where the light's gonna hit it, and let's say, for example, pick a light color like that. And now I just go in with the gradient tool. How fast was that? Right?
Yeah, I can do it faster.
Sure. But you could see how like just using the shape and gradient, you can actually get a lot done. If I was actually going to paint what I just did without selection tool, but just with the brush, it would take a lot longer. I'd become going back and forth until I got these like nice sharp shapes, right? So I would definitely recommend everybody kind of try that out. I know it's review for a lot of you, but just go in and try to, figure out kind of how to use shape gradients. Okay. If I was ever going to, well, I don't think I want a pillar down. I kind of want the right-hand side to just kind of open up a bit more, I think. One thing that does bother me though is this right angle right here. Like it just kind of ends there. And I don't know, it's kind of okay, so a lot of sci-fi stuff happens at like what's like a 60-degree angle kind of thing. Kind of like a spaceship, or if I was in a sci-fi building, right? Like we've seen this kind of a motif in the past, right? Like I'm a person walking through like a sci-fi hallway. There's always some kind of like a cool, angle of some sort. For some reason, that angle immediately makes it feel a little bit more sci-fi and science fiction. Can you see what I'm drawing here? Like imagine this was a person and that's like the shape of a building or something. Or maybe they're in a spaceship and that was like the bridge, right? So I was just kind of thinking maybe instead of ending it at a right angle, maybe we could play around with the shape and get more sci-fi with it, Actually, let me use my polygon lasso. You got a lot of brutalism going on here. Brutalism? Brutalism is life. No. Okay, so brutalism is a architectural style that is usually associated with totalitarian regimes.
Oh. I mean, it is a totalitarian regime, guys.
Usually brutalism is characterized as like, you know, top heavy, large geometric shapes, made out of concrete, kind of like almost like a bunker. Let me brutalism. It's cold, it's unfeeling. The state is more important than the individual, you know, in a lot of this kind of philosophy.
Wow, you can be at the Alderson building up right there. Yeah, you wouldn't notice the difference.
Um,
Same square window. Oh my God, it's
Then, yeah.
in Andor, I believe they have a lot of brutalist architecture in Coruscant as well. Yeah,
It's the Empire.
but I mean, it looks cool, you know. If you replace the concrete with metal, you can almost see it like as a future. Yeah, see, this is like the fortress. They literally tried to make this look like a battleship, right?
Looks like the giant spaceship.
Yeah, there's also there's a lot in Eastern Europe. And yeah, they have like very spaceshipy type, you know, shapes to it. Something like that as well. But you can kind of start seeing like with these angles that I was talking about, it starts feeling more sci-fi, you know? Look at this thing.
It's like a sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just a statue. I don't even know if it's a building, but it's just a structure, and the people feel, you know, they're towering over you, they're low poly geometric kind of people, and I don't know, you know, giant UFO over your head. It's not there to make you feel comfortable. It doesn't make you feel like you're at home. It's not wood and a fireplace. It's, you know, it's something kind of like will look like an engine block and turn that into a building, you know. Anyways, we can go all day about brutalism. I like a lot of these shapes, you know, things like that. That's very sci-fi, right? Right away. So back to your thing. You might want to come up with a motif when you do some kind of like a sci-fi brutalist shape. Like let's just nail down an interesting shape for this single pillar here, right? And the motif could be big, heavy, thick thing at a sci-fi angle, but it's got like little tiny platforms and pipes and railing that's hanging off of it, and supports that are hanging off of it. So say, for example, right here, we could actually have like a little thing here. And just the addition of these little platforms and pipes and things like that immediately make it feel a little bit more sci-fi, right? What else could I do to this pillar structure to make it feel more sci-fi? Anybody? Yes, blinky lights. Blinky lights are my friend. So.
I think it would be like a dot.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if I had just some little, and what I'm doing here is I'm holding down shift, and when you hold down shift and draw sideways, it'll give you horizontal dashes, you know? That. So little blinky lights that immediately, I like the dock idea. The dock idea is cool. So maybe perhaps there's. Y'all ever watch Rocketeer? They went to the Griffith Park Observatory and there was a giant Nazi blimp that was kind of basically there was like a invasion happening. So yeah, maybe there's like a little dock thing. And instead of the antenna going up like that, I would probably make it go back. While we're doing kind of Soviet design, look at well, this is very Soviet. Sputnik. Oh, come on, it won't let me just do a search that way. This is Sputnik, right? Anybody know what Sputnik is? It was the first Russian satellite that went to outer space. America was freaking out about it because it meant that Russia was ahead of us in the space race at the time. But you can kind of see what Sputnik is like. The antennae on the Sputnik is doing, kind of like trailing behind it, almost like I don't know, like fish fins or something, So, and what does that do? That immediately makes it feel what? Feel like it's got a forward moving motion to it. Whereas these antennae that are going straight up and down like that, what does that feel like? It feels like it's stationary, right? It feels like like if this thing was traveling through the air super fast, what would happen to all those antennae? Yeah, they would break off, right? But if they were going in a direction more back like that and kind of sleeker, that could be more believable, right? The stuff AI will not do for you. For now. Eventually it'll be smarter, I guess, but like having these little support things that I'm doing here can really help you come up with something. Also, like, what is this giant pillar? And is there anything we can do to the giant pillar that makes it more interesting than just being one solid shape like that? Could be an elevator, yeah. So maybe there's like actual mechanisms here to
Where they keep all the prisoners.
and then I would probably put some, yeah, like over here. This could be an elevator as well. It could be one of those incline elevators.
Like trolley.
I call it the Akira elevator. They have a giant thing there. Or it could also be like I think in Blade Runner they have this building there, the Tyrell building, and it's got like little elevators that go up and down the side there.
You could even make that one. That's what it reminds me.
Right. You're talking about that guy? Oh, well, okay, so you're reading it differently than I'm reading it. The way I'm reading it is that's the same thing as this thing, but off in the distance and going off at an angle. In which case, I would say
It would be the-
exactly, yeah, it would have to kind of. But yeah, you're right, that, it could be a sewage pipe. But I feel like the sewage pipe would go diagonal or something, or like there wouldn't be a horizontal thing to it, because it could get backed up and such. But again, perspective wise, I would maybe. I don't know.
I think you had it right, you just had a thing over end pipe.
It would be good if, this would be a good one to model, Sam. Because then you can just not have to worry about perspective later. And the thing that would really sell this is what? Atmosphere. So I'm drawing it way too freaking dark right now, right? What does it need to be? Needs to be a lot lighter than this. Off in the distance. Immediately pushes it back into space, right? So now that I have that shape down, now I'm just gonna come in and use this again. Anybody seeing this and going, I can totally do that for my thing? I hope. You know, off in the distance or something. Your buildings right here are kind of a block right now as well. So what I would do is break them up a little bit more, you know? Yeah, just right now it just feels like I don't know. Like break up that skyline is my point. See? Yeah. And also a lot of the buildings that are on there feel like they're just ones that exist now. You know? So if we're going brutalist, maybe some of these buildings up here also reflect elements of that brutalism. And just think of it like it's shapes for now, but like that little, you know, what is that? Brought to you by the letter P, that shape immediately feels brutalist. Right. Again, because it's top heavy, you know, something like that. A lot of them are. Let's take a look again. Yeah, you see these little pieces up here that stick like, it's like over us. There's nothing underneath them to support it. It's cantilevered in a way where it feels like that building, if that building was a piston, it could come down and just squash you, right? Like the Thwomps or in Mario or something. See over here, there's these little legs, right? But then if you were standing under that thing, it'd feel like you had like a giant, you know, spaceship above you, right? Or an AT-AT walker or something, right? So this as well, this giant thing above us, right? There's a lot of overhangs in brutalism. You see that? So, I don't know. It just, what I saw on your design was it already felt kind of brutalist, and I just kind of pushed it that direction. Like it doesn't feel like a friendly place. Right. Yeah. So, other things to really think about right now, this rock that's on the bottom left-hand side, it feels out of scale, and it's like a giant boulder that that's been like it's like a small boulder that's been scaled way too far up. And also this round shape is kind of different from everything else I'm seeing here. So I would probably do a pass similar to what I did with the mountains on the right-hand side with this rock on the foreground on the left-hand side. That makes sense? Like that. Right. You may also, the other thing that you can do to really sell the point is, well, first off, you need more atmosphere on this thing, because my goodness, it is really dark there. And you need to push it back into space by just giving me some atmosphere, right? Stuff in the middle ground should never get as dark as the stuff in the foreground. And what I was getting at was, if you wanted to really sell this idea, you could actually wash, rinse, and repeat elements of this off in the distance. So you go Control-Shift-C, that copies whatever I have in my selection there, and then hit Control-V. And that just copied it, right? I'm gonna set this on multiply, and I'm going to flip it. And then I'm going to shrink it down. Basically, there's a whole other structure behind that mountain off in the distance, is the idea. Yes. You're getting it now. Cool. And it would be behind it. But this is selling that idea, right? That this is a industrial, set of city. It's like a manufactured city or something. I'm not sure. It feels like a factory, right? And yeah, we can make it further behind so they're not touching, but as long as you're not creating tangents, right? I probably have a few that I just created. Like it might be better just to kind of float it that way, honestly. And then erase all this stuff out or mask it out, And then I would just like that. It's kind of like seeing those the oil pumps, the ones that kind of dip up and down like a crane, like yeah. Kind of like that, seeing like a row of them off in the like a bunch of oil rigs, I guess. Yeah. All right. This is where we were. This is where we got. Okay. That's why they pay me the big bucks. That's okay. Save. I'll put these up on the G drive when I get home. Okay, cool. Let's see. I think we might have time for one or two more. Ricky. Ice World?
Nice one.
What are these structures?
I think they were planning to be cities, but I wanted to make it a bit more organic in the shape and feel, so more spiky and like flower-like instead of usually going like blocky or architectural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now they're twinning one another,
Mhm.
and what I would do is figure out a hierarchy. They're already kind of, I don't know, what do you call that? Kind of cone shaped. So maybe think of like a triangular hierarchy or something. Like maybe there's one over here that's bigger off in the distance. That way there's like a point of focus. Right now, these two things kind of hide between this mountain ridge right here.
Mhm.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then the other thing you want to think about is it's actually very similar to Richie's image, where you may want to have elements in your foreground and middle ground kind of lead your eye towards whatever the structure is, because that's obviously the focal point of your image, I
Yeah.
think, right? So you may have a path that leads you there. You may have these rocks, they're more slanted in a way where it's kind of leading your eye there. If you got clouds in the sky, maybe there's a couple of wisps that kind of lead you there as well. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. This mountain right here is like going straight up. It could actually slant a little bit to kind of give a V shape to kind of, what do you call it? It's kind of like framing it in a way. Right now it's just literally framing it with a 90-degree angle. You might want to put a little slant on there. This is your character.
Yeah.
Okay. There's value discrepancies on this one for certain,
Okay.
right? You could see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I can see it.
Like this is too dark
Mhm.
for it to be off in the distance. And so I kind of need a layer breakup of like this object right here being a foreground element. And sometimes let me just do it real fast because easier to show. Wait, how do I do this? Show, not tell. Downloads. Yeah. Is that it? Everybody named their thing sci-fi photo. All right. Just, well, a couple of things, right, that I talked about. Boop, boop, boop. Let's grab these and just hit Control J, and then just even that, slight lean, and then this part right here. Wow, you went to town on that cutout filter, huh? Let's see, Control V. Just a slight. And then maybe a third elements of whatever this is. It kind of reminds me of Thor: Love and Thunder. Did you watch that
I did
movie?
not, so I'll probably check it out.
At the very beginning,
You don't have.
well, just watch the beginning part.
Not what?
At the very beginning in Love and Thunder, there's a crystal palace thing that you can look.
I was so excited. Fucking shit on me.
What a great world we live in, where our major complaints are like elements of entertainment, and you know. I was just kind of thinking like something behind it that's lighter in value and, you know, further off in the distance. But this is what I was getting at though, is all this stuff in the foreground. That just do a multiply. It gets, you know, nothing will be darker than that
Yeah,
going forward. Right. So then I assume this palace would be middle ground territory then. Since those mountains in the distance are technically larger.
yeah.
That. Oh, and then I can deselect this, I think. Can I? Let's see. Yeah, cool. Now I got my middle ground. Just gonna choose a blue. Go dark, darker, but not as dark, like that, right? And then the stuff in the background. I think we just need to go lighter on our backgrounds. Here. See how I was doing that? I'm just deselecting. And then if you just kept it on separate layers, then you'll have it no problem. So let's say it's that value. I'm just gonna come in and just kind of spot lighten these little bits. I want to gradiate that. Actually, you want to hit it through and behind. So what that means is you don't want the right-hand side to be one value behind it and then a completely different value on the other side.
Okay.
You want this to kind of peek through, right?
Yeah.
So that it doesn't feel like this thing's literally dividing everything.
Isn't it adds also like more depth to it in terms of
Yeah. So once you got this, then come in with your lights. And I think with the lights, you can go as bright as you want with especially on the foreground. But separating foreground, middle ground, background immediately buys you so much. Like this part, I can't see the castle, a lot of this, you know, a lot of the stuff, right? And this, I'm immediately drawn to that shape right there. So, and then yeah, on this mountain here, I would do that trick that I was showing earlier with the lasso tool. Where that way you're not just hitting this big flat swath, right? Instead you're getting hit with like nooks and crannies and things like that here. Or you can kind of zigzag your way. Ah, generous Phil, get out of my way. Right. Like that,
I also like adding mist in between like the different layers.
definitely.
Especially like with like
Definitely.
snow and sand.
Yeah, if you've got like a nice mist brush. One thing, how we used to do some of our mist stuff is you find a I don't know, is there a cloud brush here anywhere? Shoot. Just make a new layer. Oh, that's a smudge? Come on. X brushes. Dry media.
And that just has to be like a soft brown.
Yeah, I just kind of. There's gotta be a cloud thing, but anyways. What we used to do a lot is just kind of.
What's a blizzard?
And you could blur the heck out of that.
And then would you lower the opacity or?
Yeah, it would definitely change up the opacity, but Gaussian blur. If I had a better brush, I would. So that kind of feels cloud-ish, right? And then what you do is well, save that, duplicate that layer, and then we just motion blur side to side the heck out of it. So instead of up and down like the reflections earlier, we go side to side and get kind of almost like a streaky thing going. Here we can do it again. So that's like a light version, and then we'll make another layer. And this time around, I'm gonna go the thing that I just, did with the side of that mountain, but now it's with this. Like that. Okay, motion blur that too. You can see now it's giving me these layers. When I do the side streaky thing. Let's see. Dang it, it's got auto select on. I hate auto select. But yeah, these streaky bits, that's what gives you that depth, right? So then merge those two. And now you can come in and mask the heck out of it too. So what's my foreground thing? That's my foreground. So just fill it. But yeah, having the streaks go like through and behind really helps. And yeah, play around with the opacity. But what's good is all it'll do is lighten everything, right? So or lessen the contrast on everything. So you can actually play around. As it goes further in the distance, what did the streaks do? Anybody? Yes. So it goes further in distance, your streaks are gonna do more like that, right? So off in the distance, you'll have another layer like that. Okay. And maybe that'll be like behind our castle thing. Sure. But yeah, play around with that. I think it looks better. Save. Five. Oh, dude, we only have 6 minutes left. Okay. I guess that was the last one, unless if anybody wants like a quick verbal one. Anybody volunteer? Um,
Thank you.
and you're welcome. Annie? Last name? Ah, there you are. Oh. Nice. I think it's an improvement over last week.
Really.
You're liking it more, right?
Yeah, I remember looking at it back to back. I feel like the first one I was kind of impressed because I never did anything. But like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I like this a lot better. I changed the vibe a bit more. I
Mm-hmm.
added like this thing for the portal, added some space mix and
Mm-hmm.
I think like the person in front,
Yeah.
I like found some like figurine. It was like a photo on Pinterest and I edited some stuff.
Okay. I would find like a cool, maybe techie backpack or something, to put on them, just because it's kind of plain right here.
Yeah.
And something that can kind of maybe break some of the silhouette as well. Your lighting is it needs work right now. Like say for example, this rock right here, like I think this rock is being lit from behind us and from the right-hand side. Because I'm looking at this cast shadow right here.
Yeah.
And you got your rim light on the right-hand side, like it's coming off of that, which is competing right now with the whatever sunlight that's coming from up here.
Yeah.
Because that's casting this shadow, right? So there's some discrepancies. This part here is fine. This character, as far as lighting goes, is okay. It's just these rocks right here. The light's coming from the wrong side. And quite honestly, these rocks over here, I would just kind of take this color here. Let me real quick.
Okay.
It's ain't easy. Wait, did I? Yeah. Did I do this rough pass it? Oh, there you are. Okay. Hey, Holly. All right. Real quick on this. What I would do is just take that shadow color and just kind of maybe with a lower opacity. %50 opacity. Let's make everything kind of in the dark, right? Because the sun's over here, so it's almost backlit, correct? Get that? That one will be lighter later, but
And then would you come back in later to add like highlights for the portal or?
yes. But treat this, okay, you got two sources of light. What does that create?
One of them is like the ambient light.
Yeah, and it creates a core shadow
Yeah.
right down the middle here, right? So that's kind of what all this stuff is going on right here. But immediately now my light directions starting to feel a bit better. And then over here, I would create pick a better brush. Oh, that's not a better. So this is getting hit by whatever that sunlight is, right? And I would also put a mist of some sort back here, knock that guy way back. And this one too. Right. I think on the other side of your portal, should just be something completely different and out of this world.
Oh.
Like seeing the rock through from behind that almost feels kind of, you get what I mean?
Kind of.
Like I do want to separate whatever that world is versus where we're at, right? And also here too, this is pink light land, so along your pillars here, you're gonna get hit there as well. Like that really sells it, you know? Maybe a bit of light underneath here too. Or I don't know, shadow. You know, I would just rim light that actually. That if you wanted to as well. Like this is the source of pink, right? So I would just make whatever is inside these gates a little bit more obvious. So let's try overlay. Let's try whatever this color is. Yeah. And that was too bright, so I'm going to darken. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make it a bit more obviously different. Kind of like that, you know? Wait, you're seeing something completely different than what I'm seeing, dang it. Yeah, because the projector. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it looks way better on his screen. Yeah.
right.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that is,
sorry, so,
looks way pinker.
yeah. So, yeah, all you're seeing is like, it's the same color, man.
I feel like it like brings down, it brings down so much.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. But yeah, if whatever's in here is a slightly different hue than what's out here, that really says it's otherworldly, right? All right, everybody, thanks.
Thank you.
That was good class.
I'm so sleepy.
I'm gonna stop recording.